Hello.
Hi!
It
Hello!
worked! Yay!
Yay! I'm always having a minor heart attack before these things start. I'm like, is it gonna work this time or is it not?
I'm glad it's not just me because I'm always like, okay, where's the button? I hope I do this right. Let's get this going. And of course, this morning I came out to this is my office that is newer, and I haven't done a lot of live stuff. And the Wi-Fi out here was like down, and I was just like, oh no! So
Oh no!
reset all the routers, and it's working now. So I'm gonna knock on everything wooden that like it stays. I was just like, of course, it would be down this morning, so yeah.
It always feels like it's out of our hands. Like, we can only just sit there and hope for the best. Like, with these things, it's like, who knows who's playing with us, right?
Yeah.
It's insane. But I'm glad it worked. I'm glad you're here. I'm so happy to be talking to you. How are you?
I'm good. It's so fun to see you again. I love that you always do these chats with me.
Well, I always love that they ask me to do it because I love talking to you. And I do want to say something first. Congratulations on your second baby. You've welcomed a baby girl to your family.
Yes.
How are you? How's the family?
You know, none of us are sleeping, but you know, other than that, no, she's doing great. She started smiling like at a week old, and so she's a very sweet temperament. The only thing that's a little bit challenging is that she decided to teeth early, so she's already like cutting teeth and kind of waking up a lot at night because her mouth hurts. And it's like, I get it, your mouth hurts. You're not supposed to do this till you're like 6 months old. Why are you doing it at 3 months? But you know,
oh man,
little
oh man.
overachiever.
I was just about to say it. She's gotta be trouble. Like, if she's overachieving like that. I actually had wisdom tooth problems this year, and this was the moment where I texted my friend who has a child. I know the pain of your child. This is not okay.
I know.
What a baby's going through. This is not okay.
I know. I swear this is like why we don't remember that time period in our lives, because we're in constant pain during that time period, and there's nothing you can give them. It's like, here, have something cold to chew on. That's all you can do. I'm like, I'm sorry.
Oh, I hope she's doing better soon. I hope like this is gonna like. I hope that as quickly as it came, it also is gonna quickly pass.
That's what because we're hoping for. Because my 2-year-old is also teething, so having two that are teething, I'm just like, I'm done.
Oh my God, poor you. Poor you. I do get that. I do get that there's no sleep involved. Actually, that would have been my other question, because I know your sleep schedule isn't really the best. So I was like worrying if it got worse. But you do not look like you're lacking any sleep, if I may say so. So I think the naps in between might work.
Wonders.
So great. I'm so excited. Here it is.
I know. I only have the American version, so.
Well, I mean,
the German version.
Yeah, right. And I'm so excited. How excited are you for the German readers to dive into this installment?
I mean, it's going to be so fun to have you guys finally like caught up with everyone else and angry at me for the same cliffhanger instead of like angry at me for different cliffhangers. So.
Well, now you do not have to be that too careful about, like, you do not have to wonder which cliffhanger is it this time that they're angry at me. Like, now you know. It's also happened so quickly that we've caught up. I still can't believe it. I was like, did I miss any US news or something? Because I cannot believe we're actually on the same page now. Like, this is,
I know, now
insane.
You get to join the fun waiting period that everyone else is in. Like, you know, the Shannon, book 10. I'm like, I don't know yet. Like, I'm sure that's probably one of your questions. Like, I'm working on it, but you know, again, I grew a tiny person this year, so we're still figuring out exactly when I'm going to get it done. And all I can really say is I am writing as fast as I can right now.
Why, that's so fun. I think everyone does understand your reasons for taking a little bit longer than usually, so that's fine. But it has been my question, one of my questions. That's correct.
We'll just jump in there and get that one out of the way. Like, I swear, as soon as we have like a concrete date, I mean, my agent is always like, so Shannon, do you have any idea? I'm like, I don't, and I don't want to promise like it'll be this date, and then, you know, I have a day where I just can't get work done, or like, you know, this week I really haven't been able to get sat her down. She just wants mom because she's teething and in pain, and so it's just like, well, not getting much writing done this week. She's still at that very, very young age. So
I mean,
once they get more like 6 months, you can kind of get them to settle with other people that they're familiar with. But like right now, she doesn't want grandma. She doesn't want dada. When she's not feeling good, she wants mama. And I'm like, okay, I love you, but
Yeah, well, but you know what? I mean, this is like again, she is thieving. Like she has pain. We have pain
Yeah.
as well, but our pain is like a little bit different. Like we can cope with it a little bit. We can go and reread the books. We can like meet other angry readers and chat with them. I mean, there's so many ways to cope with our like feelings, but she cannot. So
Yes.
it's fine. Stay with the baby. But yeah, it will be torturous for the German readers. I'm actually kind of like, I feel like this is a new thing. Like we had such short periods of times in between releases, so now this is like a new territory to really be impatiently waiting. I think like we've been so spoiled with these short time periods of time in between. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. I think there's gonna be probably more angry messages from German readers.
Probably. I'm sure the comment sections will get nastier and nastier as we go along. Like, where is it? I promise I'm not going to pull a George R.R. Martin. Like, I will give you the book. Like, it's just, you know.
Like, that's the only promise that matters. Like, that's the promise we need.
Yeah.
Well, but at least we've got this baby here, and the moment I had this in my hands, I knew, like, I've seen the covers because I know the US covers, but I always feel like it's such a different feeling to have a book physically in your hands and to, like, see it online. This is my new favorite cover. It is.
I know. Every time I'm like, I don't know how he's going to top himself, so I'm there again. Like, I don't know how he's going to top himself, and then he always seems to, so I'm sure when we get to book 10, he's going to top himself. But yeah, I love it. It's so gorgeous, and just such girl power going on there. And
yes, I'm looking at it and being like, slay, this is exactly what we want. Like, it's so cool. However, I do wonder, like, how much are you involved in picking the cover and in the process of having a cover?
Actually, I am involved a lot more than authors usually are, because a lot of times we are doing the cover before I've been able to write the scene that the cover is based on, because my deadlines have been so crazy and the books are so long and everything else. And so usually what happens is that marketing kind of sits down and looks at it and goes, you know, okay, so we're probably going to look for this kind of color scheme because we want to make sure that it's clear that it's a new book in the series and not a different book in the series. And then, you know, they kind of discuss like what we think like kind of the general feel of the book is, and then we kind of discuss like based on my outline like what scenes we think might sort of encapsulate that feel. And then, you know, the artist will send some sketches based on a few just descriptions of like, we think this is what's going to happen in the scene when I get around to writing it. And so then once he starts sending in sketches, then I have to be like, okay, he took a lot of artistic liberties with this. Like, that's not how Sophie's power works. Like, we can't go with that. Or sometimes there's been a couple of times over the years where something he drew is like actually better than what I was picturing in my head. And so I'm like, ooh, that's how that's going to go. When I write that, I'm going to make it, describe it like it looks like that, you know? But yeah, so it's a very, very collaborative process where, especially because the artist himself is also very busy. And so it's kind of like, we'll get this thing of like, he is available for this window of time. And I'll be like, well, I only have, you know, the first couple chapters of the book written. We don't want the cover from there. And so it kind of goes that way. But, you know, I know a lot of people probably think that I sit down and I'm like, so it's going to be these specific characters and that kind of thing. It's really not. It's about capturing a moment that just feels like it, you know, embodies the book. And so for Stellarlune, I really felt like that was when not just Sophie, but a lot of the female characters are kind of really stepping up, but especially Sophie really is kind of standing up in a new way and really just kind of, it feels very girl power to me. And so I was just like, I feel like this is the book that needs like the girl power cover. And so those were kind of the scenes that we focused in on. And then as far as like something that was just visually like, it makes you want to go, what's happening, without giving away what it is, because you don't want the cover to be a spoiler.
No, you
know?
don't.
So
yeah.
it gets really tricky. I mean, even like, you know, we knew we wanted Morella on the cover, and I was like, okay, but we can't have her actually using her ability. because, you know, that doesn't come out until I think it's book 6. And so if someone's like new to the series and happens to see the cover for the new book before they've read book 6, then they know what Morella's ability is. And so I'm like, but we have to have her with something that it matches her, but we can't have her like actively like it's shooting out of her hands or something like that, because that would then make the cover a spoiler for the series. So there's a lot that goes into it that, you know, you just don't realize until you're in those conversations, that it's like, oh yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Well, this is amazing. I do love how you're like taking, like how you're thinking of new readers discovering the series and not wanting to spoil them. Also, I love, this is something that I love about the covers, is that it has like this moment and this whole kind of like theme that is going on. Like when you're reading the book, you just completely understand the cover and what is going on, and it kind of sets you up as well. It prepares you for what is going to happen next, especially combined with the title and like looking at it. It's like you're not sure what is happening, but you're ready to find out. And I really, really love them. I also really love that you're so involved in these covers, because they are so amazing. And they are such a, I think, big part of the story, because they are moments of the story. It's not just like characters standing there and posing. It's like really a moment.
Doing something.
They're doing something. So it's really fun that you get to like actually be part of this and have a say in it. I really love it. I am excited for the next one's cover. I completely fell in love with this one. There's like a poster of it. I want it. Like I need to figure out if there's a way for me to find one.
I know. I swear, it's one of those things where I get asked that a lot, and I'm like, well, the tricky thing is like I don't own the art, so I can't. You know, my publisher and they own the rights to use the art, but they don't. You know, the artist actually owns the art, and so it just becomes this tricky thing. I'm like, I can't just make posters and be like, here you go. Like it's all tricky, you know. It's like legal things of it are like, oh yeah, that kind of kills the buzz a little bit.
Yeah, it does, but it's also important to protect artists, and it's also important to protect artists that are like this good, and
yeah,
like that are like, you can really feel like there's passion going into this as well, and I love that. So
yeah, no, he's amazing. I hit the cover artist jackpot. He was actually an artist that I had been admiring for years. Like he was one of those ones where I would buy books just because I could see the cover, and I was just like, that's so beautiful. He had done the cover for one of my friend's books, and so I had fallen in love with his art. And then anytime I was walking through the bookstore, if I saw a cover that I was just like, that is the most beautiful cover, sure enough, I'd look and it was his, and I'd be like, I need it, I bought it.
Yeah.
And so when I found out that I didn't request him, because I wasn't sure if you were allowed to request an artist. Like I was just a brand new baby author, and I was trying not to like annoy my editor. So I was just kind of like secretly thinking, okay, hopefully she picks someone good, and hopefully this is a good process. And then I had happened to post a picture of yet another Jason Chan book that I had bought, and I was just like, bought another one. I love his art so much. And she immediately texted me and was just like, you're a Jason Chan fan? Because guess who I just booked to do the series covers? I'm like, you're a king! So yeah.
Oh God, this is amazing. This is amazing. Oh, I'm so happy for you. I'm so happy you've been a fan and that this turned out like this, like without, you know, putting it out there. It just came to you. That's just amazing. So let's talk a little bit about this one. And we cannot really talk much about this one, but
it's tricky.
It's very tricky. Can you maybe quickly prepare your German readers, your German audience, on what they can expect in this installment?
So it's funny because, you know, this is obviously going to end in a cliffhanger. We've already, you know, I mean, I feel like anyone who's familiar with the series at this point, this is not a shock. But, you know, it's a cliffhanger. It's one of the biggest cliffhangers I've done in a while. And that is because it's a moment that I've seriously been building toward, like, all series. It was just, and it was one of those plot lines that I get asked a lot, like, how did you know, like, when you were originally doing the series, like, and you weren't sure how many books you were going to get to write and that kind of thing, like, how did you structure it? And a lot of times it was that I left things out. Like, I saved them thinking, I hope I'll get to write enough books that I get to do this. But if not, I can't introduce it because it's going to take too much time. And so the kind of the reveal that happens at the end of this is something that is integral to the series. It's one of the darkest secrets of the Lost Cities. And it's something that I always knew existed and I always wanted to address, but I just wasn't sure if I was going to get there. And so now that the series has become as successful as it is, and I get to have the number of books that the series needs to really tell the full story, it was like, okay, we're doing this then, you know? And so it's just this moment that, you know, in many ways, the journey getting there has been full of surprises, but I fully knew that if I had my way, that this was where we were going to. And so it was really cool to finally write that moment where sort of like, you know, the veils drop and we get this reveal. And it was just like, I hope they like this. I know they're going to be mad at me. They're going to turn the page and be like, that's it. Like, that's where we're stopping. But at the same time, it's also just like, I know how cool this is going to be. And it's so exciting that I get to go there and we get to do this, you know? And I guess the other thing about this book is that it's filled with moments that just completely caught me by surprise, and then moments like that end that it's like I've had this living in my head for more than a decade, and I've been finally getting there. So it's kind of an interesting mix, and I hope it's that same experience for readers, that there's certain things that they're just like, yay, we've been waiting for this forever, she finally did it, and that there's other things that it's like, wow, I did not see that coming. So
it is always a play. It is always a game, like with, will I be seeing anything coming, or will I be totally blindsided again and completely not see it coming and shocked? And I always love to like the anticipation of like, will I know? Will I figure it out? Will I not figure it out? It's always like one of the most fun things, and I never figure it out. So like, props to you. So really enjoyed it. The cliffhangers mean people said they were throwing their books when they read the ending. So
yep.
I do hope the books are okay though.
Yeah.
I hope they're like no dents or something. Like don't
make sure there's no one around, because these are not light. So, you know, make sure like little brother, little sister not nearby as you're throwing your book, you know.
Like do it, throw it on the bed. Like just give it a shove on the bed. Like I think that's the most, like imagine throwing it against the wall and it coming back and smacking you in the face. Just be careful. These are weapons. Like that's those are not books. Weapons.
Yeah.
So I'm reading through the comments. And I do want to like just quickly tell everyone we cannot answer things like will this happen or that happen, because it takes away from the fun of reading.
Right. Anytime a question starts with, are you ever going to tell us this, do this, include this, or whatever, like, unfortunately, I can't give spoilers about the future books, you know? And so it just kind of, it turns the Q&A really boring, because it's like, are you ever going to do this? I can't tell you. Are you ever going to do this? I can't tell you. Are you ever going to do this? I can't tell you. It's why I stopped doing Q&A at events, because no matter how often we would try to make it clear, like, those are just questions that I'm not allowed to answer, it just always seems to be that way. So I'm sorry. I wish I could tell you guys everything that you want to know, but I would get in huge trouble with my publisher, like massive. Like I'd have to go into hiding, kind of. And honestly, having me tell it to you in just a couple of sentences is not the same as getting to experience it unfolding on the page. So, you know, just wait and see, and I'm writing as fast as I can, and I'm sorry that I can't say more than that.
There's a lot of love going on for the book. People forcing their friends to read it, their friends loving it. I love that. Like that's how we work. Like we need to shove these things into other people's faces. Like that's the only occasion where this book is able to touch up other people's face. Don't throw it, just shove it.
Yeah, I mean, that's honestly how the series grew. You know, it started out here in America very quiet. You know, it was kind of a weird time for middle grade. Middle grade was not really the hot spot of the market, so it didn't get a lot of advertising. It didn't get a lot, you know, stores didn't order like big displays of it or anything like that, you know, and it really just kind of came out with a whisper instead of a shout. And it was really readers that were, as the next book in the series came out, and then the next one, they kind of told their friends, and they told their friends, and they told their friends, and all of a sudden by book 5 we were hitting the New York Times bestseller list here. And you know, that's why I didn't know how many books in the series originally that I was going to get to write. I had only signed a 3-book contract at first, and so if the series hadn't taken off, we would have been done at book 3, and I would have had to write a different ending for that one. And so, you know, it's been really cool that we're sort of all in this journey together. And, you know, I'm here and getting to continue telling the story and getting to share the vision in my head, because all of these readers have been so supportive and so patient and spread the word and become, you know, evangelists for the series, and really, you know, helped boost it in a way that I never could have on my own. I can go on Instagram all day and be like, buy my books, and people are like, no. But if it's someone else, if it's their friend saying, you've got to read this, they listen, you know. So thank you all.
It is. I love how aware you are of what a big community of fans you have, and how active they are, and how passionate they're about your books and about your series. But what I love is the Iggy polls, the fact that you are including your readers in the story by making them choose what the colors are going to be each book. So how did that actually start? Where did that idea come from?
It's funny. So I had changed Iggy's color in book 2 on my own. And when I was out promoting book 1, I had done a little drawing of Iggy, a gray Iggy, and made a little postcards and was giving those out. And so when I was getting ready to go out and start promoting book 2, I did a drawing of pink Iggy and put it on postcards. And there was a little girl who came to my event for Exile that had been at the first one. So she was getting the new Iggy postcard. And so she looked at me and she goes, what color is he going to be in the next book? And I was just like, I hadn't thought of that. That's a really good idea. I should keep changing his color. And so I asked her, and I should mention, she was wearing head to toe purple. So when I asked the question, I thought I already knew what the answer was going to be. I was like, so what color do you want him to be? And she got this like distant look, like really gave it some thought. And then she leaned forward and she's like, orange. I was like, okay. I was not expecting that. But so Iggy became orange in Everblaze. And then for book 4, when I was sitting down, I thought, you know, I kind of feel like it would be fun to let readers decide. So really casually, I just went on Facebook and was just like, hey, anyone have any ideas for what color Iggy should be? And then I realized that I did it kind of disorganized. I got like 1 million nominations in the comments. And so I just kind of was like, well, a lot of people suggested like a darker Chartist-ish blue kind of thing. And so we'll do that. And then from then on, it was like, okay, if I'm going to do this from now on, I have to do like an actual poll where it'll be like a vote. So it's not me sorting through hundreds of comments trying to figure out if there's any sort of pattern to them. And so then we've done the more organized Iggy votes ever since. But I just figured, you know, since the idea actually came from a reader whose name I didn't even think of it in the moment to like get her name or be able to thank her or anything. She was just cute little girl wearing all purple who decided that Iggy should be orange.
Oh my goodness, I love that story. I love that story. And I do hope you will meet her again at some point, like at an event or something. If in case she's listening,
Yeah.
just wear purple to the next event and say, hey, it was me.
Now there's going to be like 500 people that do that. And then I'm like, wait a minute.
Exactly. Exactly. It's going to be like, it was me, it was me, it was me.
Yeah.
So maybe don't do that.
Be like, I didn't even tour to this town in that time period.
That's such a cute story because I love seeing that. I love seeing like the polls and then, you know, it's like one thing to experience it on social media and see how that when those things go live, and then to read the book and be like, oh, right, there was a poll. We're like, you know, as a reader, we've been part of this decision. Like it's so nice. So yeah, people, if you have any questions for everyone who's watching, I love that they're like making theories right now. Exchanging opinions or theories. If you have any questions, please drop them in the comments. I'm gonna look through them. No spoilers, no shipping questions. Though there are moments for everyone if you read the books. And
nothing's however settled yet either. You know, I love how people are like, oh, so we finally got an answer. I'm like, things change in the series. I mean, we never know like what's gonna happen next. So nothing is resolved, nothing is final until we're at the last page of the last book in the series. And I don't say that to torture, I just also say that, you know, I mean, seriously, nothing is set in stone. I mean, it's all still unfolding, so.
I just love how some are gonna be like so, you know, so stuck on this, and you're like, whatever's gonna happen, you never know, everything is changing. They're gonna be so crushed.
I know, well, the thing is, for me, like I always say, I control the plot, but I don't control the characters' emotions. So like, if something is almost killing Sophie, that's me. Like, I'm the one that set that up. Like, the villains are gonna do this and she's gonna almost die. But then how Sophie feels about that, that's Sophie. Like, whether she gets angry, whether it makes her scared and makes her want to give up, whether it makes her like, rah, I'm gonna fight back, or like those kind of reactions, I can't plan those. Like, I have to really kind of just let the characters be themselves. So when it comes to anything shipping, that's an emotion, you know? And so it's like, you know, just because in one scene when I was writing it, Sophie was feeling a certain way, it doesn't necessarily mean that she's going to feel that way in another scene down the road, you know? And that applies to anything. There's scenes where Sophie's really brave, and then there's other scenes where she just wants to give up. There's scenes where she is, you know, all gung-ho on one idea, and then there's, you know, later on she's like, no, this is a terrible idea, we're not doing it. You know, she's like a person, you know, and I try to really treat not just her but all the characters that way, and really let them react based on how I just sort of sitting down and going, okay, given everything I know about them, everything I know about like their past and the way they think, and then everything that I've just put them through, like, now what do I think they're gonna do? And even if the answer is like, oh, that kills what I was planning to do with the next scene, like, now they're fighting and I wanted this sweet friendship bonding scene to come next and they're all mad at each other, great, you know? But it's like, but I leave it because it's like, well, that's authentic to the characters, you know? So that's why I'm saying that, not to try to be like, oh, everything's, you know, I might change things, or I'm just gonna keep back and forthing the love triangle endlessly just to torture you all. No, I swear, like, I don't like that when series do that, when they just keep, I don't know what I feel, I'm gonna go back and forth. But if that's what Sophie leads me, then I will be authentic to Sophie. And so it's just kind of like letting her be her on the page. I talk about her like she's a real person, and I realize some people find it very weird, but I just don't know how else to write her without treating her like a real person. So
no, I do
in my mind, she's like,
I do love it, and I think like it does come across on the page that these are like authentic people to you in your mind, and that you let them do it. And this is probably why we as readers have like these strong bonds to them and these strong feelings for them, is because they feel real. And I love how you're explaining it, and I love how you're saying that you're not here to torture us, while at the same time you're the one putting out the cliffhangers. So
I know. I mean, the cliffhangers, it's funny because you really, when you're writing a series, it's all one long book. You know, this is really just one story, and it's trying to find breaking points. And I wish the story was episodic. I wish it could be like that we go through the entire school year, and at the end of the school year, that's the end of the book, and we just know we're stopping here. But it's not that kind of a story. It's an ongoing story. And so because of that, the only option is to just pick a stopping point and just be like, all right, we're stopping here. So usually we use the phrase cliffhanger because it's so much more familiar to people. But for me, I try to look for a moment that I call a game changer, where it's more like, okay, so we've been dealing with all of this stuff in the book, and a lot of this has actually been sort of resolved. We've gotten some answers, we're feeling sort of settled, but over here, there's this game changer thing that's about to happen and curve the series that way. I start with like the first scene of that. Like, let's show them a glimpse of that so that they can see what's coming, and that's the game changer, and then we stop. And it's just so that at least it sets up the next book, so that at least we sort of know where the story is going to go, instead of just stopping in the middle of like all this other plot stuff that's going on. And so it's not ideal, it's not perfect, and obviously my real joy will be when the whole series is done and readers can, yes, they'll be going from cliffhangers, but all the books are available, and so they can just go and grab the next one and grab the next one, kind of like what you guys have even had with like much shorter wait times, you know. That'll be great when the story just kind of lives from then on in already done books, and there's not quite so much pressure of like, write Shannon, write like the wind.
Yeah.
You know?
You can finally rest. You can finally be like, they're gonna be satisfied. They're gonna have the book.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
That'll be much less stressful for me, for sure.
I can imagine. I love them, and I think like be prepared to everyone who hasn't read this installment one, because if we're speaking of game changers, this is a game changer. Like, this is a game changer, and I'm really excited for what is to come. And speaking of, and so if you have already asked the question, speaking of the next book, do you know by now whether or not it's gonna be the final one?
I mean, I'm pretty sure it's not. I'm pretty sure we're still like I haven't put it under contract yet, because I just am kind of like, I don't want to commit to an 11th book and then realize, oh, I don't need it after all, and I'm still in the trenches of book 10. But given how much there is to accomplish and how much it's like, I feel like I have like a contract with my readers that, like, if I've raised a question, I have to answer it, and I have to answer it in a way that's satisfying, that's not just like a big info dump where a character sits Sophie down and is like, here, let me tell you all of these things, boom, one scene, we're done, you know? And so given how much looking at, as I've been working on the outline for book 10, it's like, this probably isn't going to happen all in one book. It's probably going to be that when I sit down to write it, that it's, you know, and really am in the thick of it, that it's like, wow, in order to do this justice, it'll either end up like a 2,000-page book, which won't be able to be bound, or it'll need a book 11. So most likely that news will be coming soon, but it's just been one of those things where, again, I just don't want to put things under contract until I know 100% for sure that I need this, because that last thing I want to do is give them a book that doesn't really need to exist, that exists just because I signed a contract and now it has to exist, you know? So for anyone who thinks I'm like arbitrarily stretching out the series, it's quite the opposite. My publisher's like, let's do another contract, let's go. And I'm like, hold on. I just really want to make sure that I'm not arbitrarily stretching this out and going, oh shoot, now I have to split this into 2 books, and it really doesn't need to be 2 books. And so, but yeah, most likely there will probably be one more, just so that we can really get all the answers and all the moments that I know readers are waiting for, and not just like, Sophie, your father's this, Sophie, you know, like we need to actually have time with those scenes. And they're not things that are all super well connected, and so you can't have it be that it's like, hey, we're in the middle of this big battle with the Neverseen, but Sophie's gonna go off and go find her father over here for just like 5 minutes so that she can get that solved, and then she's gonna get right back to the battle, and, you know, I mean, or whatever it is. It's like, it's just one of those things where you got to find a way that it all weaves together and makes sense in that moment, that we would be learning this, and not just because Shannon had a checklist of answers that she needed to give her readers. And so here you go, guys.
Imagine having like every chapter being just a point to check off, like, oh, in this chapter you'll learn, in this chapter you'll learn. Like, that would not be much fun. And if you think your readers are being upset, no, we're not. And the comments prove it. They're all really happy about knowing that there's going to be one more book, probably.
Oh, good. Yay! Because, I mean, like I said, it's probably going to happen, but I'm not deep enough into book 10 actually writing it yet. I'm still just in the like outlining stage, which I found it's so, in these later books, it's so important to really live in that stage for a long time, to really make sure that the outline makes sense and that I'm not forgetting crucial stuff and all that kind of things, because otherwise, you know, there's so much to keep track of, and to just like dive in and start writing like, I got this. No, I don't. Like, I need to plan, you know. I'm no longer like trying to just like build a bridge. I'm trying to build like an entire city as I cross it, you know, so.
It is. I mean, it is. We've established this already, like, before, and I think it's very obvious to everyone. This is a huge world, and it's like, to me, it feels like insane to be in your position and keeping track of everything and having like all these twists and turns prepared, and like, you know, kind of like building up to those moments. And it's also like, it's not only like, we talked a lot about the cliffhanger or the game changer, but it's not only the ending that is shocking or revealing something. It's also within the book, within the story, within each installment, there's like things coming out, information coming out, things being revealed. And it's like, how do you make this happen? And it's like, I can only imagine what kind of like preparation it takes
Well, and I've been very lucky that my publisher decided Shannon needs help. And so my editor, I actually work with 2 editors now, and we do like weekly Zoom chats. Like once I'm fully off maternity leave, we will be getting back to that. And we do like, every week we get on Zoom and we go through the outline and talk through like the stuff that I'm feeling like, I don't know how, like, I know I need to get from here to here, but I don't know what's going to happen in between, and I don't want it to meander too much, and that kind, and really troubleshoot. And we do that all throughout as I'm drafting too, because as I'm drafting, the characters change things, or I realize that something that I thought was going to work, even no matter how much thought we put into it, it's like, this just doesn't work. This doesn't read, like the villains would not do this, or uh-oh, I caught a plot hole or whatever. And so every week we're sort of checking in with each other, and it's a long Zoom. It's like 2 to 3 hours. I don't know how my editor isn't just like, too much Shannon. And we really kind of have all the brains on it, because that's what I told my editor when we were getting to this. I just said, I feel like this is bigger than even what my brain can handle, and she was just like, I'm here for you, especially because I'm not really an outliner. That's not really how my brain works. If I outline, I kind of talk myself out of every scene. It's like, oh, well, they'll already know this, so I don't really need that. It'll be fine, and it just kind of, or like it seems flat, like a moment where it's just like, oh, Sophie's gonna talk to this person and they're gonna, make Sophie feel better. When you write that in an outline, it sounds like, well, that's super boring. Yeah. I don't want that scene. Let's just cut that out. And it's like, but you need those moments because Sophie's dealing with huge stuff. And if she doesn't have a moment where she sits down with a friend and does something fun and gets feeling better about herself, like she's going to be super depressed because I have, an entire organization trying to kill her all the time. So
I mean, that's like not a reason to be depressed, is it? Like, I feel like that's a reason to be joyful.
Yeah, that's not stressful at all, and so that's why I was just like, I kind of need someone to help me with this, because for my brain, I can talk myself out of every scene when I'm outlining. I'm just like, oh, I don't need that. Oh, I don't need this. Oh, the book will only be 5 pages. Cool,
I'm glad you're having the help, and I'm glad it is like such a dedicated help as well, because it is a huge world building. And as I said, I cannot imagine being in your position, but I bow down to you because it works every single time, and every single time it's a great installment and a great book, where just everything makes so much fun reading it. So for everyone who tuned in later, there's no information yet on the next book. However, there is going to be a graphic novel coming out in the US.
Yes.
More about that? How were you involved in the process?
Yeah, I actually, it was funny because when I initially did the contract, I wasn't sure how involved I was going to be. I was just so excited because I have always wanted my books to be adapted into a graphic novel and get to see all of those visuals. And I knew that I was going to have, input in the artist and input into who adapts it, but I wasn't sure beyond that how much I would get to be involved. But I have given feedback and notes and on literally every single panel of every single page of the graphic novel. And it was so fun to get to see how a new artist kind of visualizes things, and to also see how you had to, certain things have to change when you're in a different format. There was like certain things where I was just like, this joke, like this is everyone's favorite joke, like this joke absolutely has to be in the graphic novel, you cannot cut it out. And then I'd read the panels with that joke and I'm like, wow, that joke just doesn't work in graphic novel form. Like we have to figure out something else for right here, or we have to change those panels, or, and so it was really interesting to get to see how it all, kind of having all these new people involved with Keeper and putting input into it, like what we came up with. And I love it. I mean, it's always, whenever there's a new artist, there's always like some readers that are just like, I love the new, and there's others that are like, I like the other better. And I went for a very specific style. Obviously, the first book in the series is like the youngest book, and so we didn't want to have like too mature of art for, a graphic novel of the first book. But I also wanted something that felt, like an actual graphic novel and not too realistic, So I wanted something that had like outlines. I wanted art that it felt like a drawing and not like we were trying to look at some sort of like more hyper real kind of thing. And so the style that we settled on is kind of like a little bit Disney, a little bit manga, and it's just it's really fun. And I tried to give notes to the artists that I like whenever we're working with any artist, the cover artist, any of the artists that have been involved with the series. I try to let them put their own spin on it so that we're not just, otherwise we're just going to end up with, you know, 10 versions of Sophie that look exactly the same, you know? And what I really want is to see, well, how do you draw Sophie? Like, how do you draw this city? How do you draw, you know, the things that I'm describing? And so sometimes it's like, that's exactly what I was picturing. Sometimes it's like, huh, that's not at all what I was picturing, but that's really cool. Let's go with that, you know? And so there were several panels like that where it was like the sparkle effect that I had described. It was like trying to get that on the page. It just didn't really work. You know, trying to draw glitter, it doesn't really, you know, and so it was better to go like, well, let's make it look a little more homey then. Since we can't make it look sparkly, let's make it look a little bit more homey or things like that. So again, it was just really fun to play with a different format and get to see like, how do we capture the essence of what the story is, but in this very visual form. And you know, I love the way it came out. I'm so excited for everyone to get to have that, and I'm glad it exists, especially since we are having a little bit of a delay for book 10, so at least you're getting something new and exciting in the meantime. That, and I mean, it's really a beautiful book. It for anyone who's a hardcore fan of the series, I can't imagine that as you're paging through, you're not just gonna be like, I love this panel and I love this piece of art and I love this, and then it's also just really fun to see the story a different way, to feel the emotions differently because you're feeling them through these panels instead. And it was really an awesome thing to be a part of. And I'm so excited that we get to do it again with, because we had to split it into part 1 and part 2. So we have the graphic novel part 2 that still is yet to come.
I mean, there's still gonna be a wait, but like I love that this is like something that readers can experience, like can read and find and discover and see and just, you know, treasure keep it while they're waiting for the next installment. And speaking of visual adaptations, I've been tracking the comments for questions, and there's like one I cannot ignore because I don't know how many of those, like how many came through that were just this question. So before we say goodbye, so everyone is satisfied, I will have to ask you, do we have any updates on the movie?
Yes, the movie. So we are still at the script stage, which I'm pretty sure in Germany, you guys have also heard that, you know, here in America, writers are on strike. Screenwriters are very much on strike. So that has definitely kind of pumped the brakes on everything, and you know, it's still just really trying to make sure that's kind of the foundation of anything, is having a really solid script. And we were working toward that, but we weren't quite there yet when the Hollywood writers strike, you know, kind of threw everything off. And so, you know, that's really kind of unfortunately just like, that's the holding pattern that we're in, is, you know, we're affected by the strike just like everyone else, and then we will have to see how quickly things get moving again once all of this, you know, red tape that everyone's caught up in finally unravels. Like, it's whenever you kind of lose momentum on things, it can be a little hard to get the ball rolling again. But, you know, that's where we're at, and hopefully that means that, you know, sometime soon Hollywood will stop fighting with itself. I mean, I say that with full support to the writers. I completely understand why they are striking, and I hope they get everything they want and more. But it's also just one of those things where, yes, everything that is movie related is kind of in a holding pattern right now because of actors on strike, writers on strike. You know, that's the thing. Even if we had a script, like, actors are on strike too, and it's you know, it's kind of a hot mess in LA right now. So,
but well, at least we know there has been like a script that has been worked on. Like, this is a great update. So everyone else, just watch the news, follow the updates over there in Hollywood, and like, soon as like that, those things are resolved, hopefully, for everyone, like in a great man, like everyone being happy with what is going to be the outcome, we can like start counting down the days and anticipating the adaptation. This has been so lovely. Thank you so much, Shannon, for being here, for talking. I'm so happy for readers to discover this book. I cannot wait the reaction of the ending of everyone
No.
here.
And then there's a chapter in there that, you know, gets quite a big reaction
Yes.
to.
Yes, it does.
I think the chapter numbers are the same in America as they are in Germany. I don't think they changed the order or the breakdown of things, but here in America it's chapter 42. I hear a lot about chapter 42, so
mention in the comments as well, so people are aware of it. For the German readers, you know, you will have fun. I promise you will have fun.
Yeah. There's just something big that happens in 42. That's all we'll say.
Yeah. It's great. It's good. No, but I cannot wait for the next installment. I can't wait for what you come up with. But I do wish you a great time with your baby. I hope the teething is gonna stop. I hope you get to rest a little bit and sleep a little bit. Don't overwork yourself. We are gonna be patiently waiting, or impatiently waiting, but we will be waiting.
Thank you.
I hope you're having a wonderful remaining day, and it was so much fun talking to you.
Yeah, it was so great to see you again. Thank you so much. And to everyone who has read my books, thank you. Thank you for coming to this chat. And sorry that I can't answer your spoiler questions. I promise all will be answered in time.
It will. Have a great day. Bye.
Bye.